Good evening, race fans, and welcome to tonight's coverage of the Area 51 Dark Horse Series here on Green White Checker TV. We've got 125 laps at the Nashville Superspeedway. Just an hour and a half here from me for home, and looking forward to tonight's race on a bit of a short track for our IndyCar Series, the Dark Horse Series here on Tuesday nights. A little bit of an unfamiliar voice for myself, for Tuesday nights here. It's Boomer Logan alongside my good friend Gael Brooks. We'll be calling the action together for the first time in a little while, and I'm really excited for this tonight, Gael.
Yeah, and I gotta first off just thank you a ton. So, I mean, as some of you on Sunday know, as I'm not feeling quite 100%, reached out to Boomer, said, "Hey, I'm around for you if you need me." So he's gonna run the show tonight. I'll still be in here trying to peanut gallery and comment on things that are going on track tonight. And I say it's a nice and dry Nashville Super Speedway, unlike most of everybody else probably in iRacing at the moment. I say, and that's the thing. Some growing pains with the new build. Sometimes, unfortunately, we have a few drivers, I believe, having some hiccups. One of Eric Schaus, the other is, I think he said AJ Hobson, I may have been the other guy. So, unfortunate for those guys. Looks like they aren't able to make the grid here tonight. So, admin's going to do the best they can. But yeah, so I mean, 125 laps here tonight, Boomers. Sounds like a two-pit strategy race for the fuel mileage here in kind of mid to upper 40s on the fuel numbers. Of course, one fast repair available to everybody. However, no green white checkers here with these cars, as it mimics the IndyCar series, and also no playoffs as well. So that's also why it's a bit of a hit for some of those guys. But like I said, I'm sure the admins are going to try to make it as right as they possibly can. So, but yeah, really glad to have you here with me. Always appreciate you hopping on, and obviously, I really appreciate doing all the Thursdays. And then it's always a little extra to be able to share the booth with you again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun, and I appreciate your very kind words, buddy. I'm glad to help out when I can, and tonight will be a lot of fun. I know it's kind of ironic because it's actually pouring here in the Middle Tennessee area, but a lot of people trying out that rain update that you mentioned in iRacing, and the irony being that it's completely dry here at Nashville Superspeedway for the Indy cars for us tonight in the series. So. Should be a good show. We've got some points here to show. You kind of briefly mentioned that for a second there with the full season long point system that we have, similar to the IndyCar series. There, you see Bruno Miranda with 3 race wins and 5 top tens on the season so far. He's going to be a tough one to catch up to, but Nick DeGroot is doing what he can. Only 37 points back with 2 wins himself. Same amount of top 5s and top 10s. And it's going to be a good old-fashioned battle for the championship. Eric Schaus there doing everything he can to hold on to third place in the moment, up 2 spots after last week, and got a good battle throughout the mid-pack here as well. So it's going to be fun to see how this shapes up. It's definitely one of those things where you can respect the old school mentality that the IndyCar series has, and love to see that season long battle, and sometimes makes it more difficult for these ones to win. Sometimes it's easy to win when you have a playoff, win and you're in, or have a points reset when you have a couple races in a bad season. But it definitely takes a lot of consistency to be at the top of the leaderboard here in this series. So yeah, looking
Yeah.
forward to see how this shapes up.
Yeah, exactly right. And so I'm gonna bring in that third place in the points series driver there, because like I said, he's probably working his magic behind the scenes, saying, "All right, so what am I getting out of this? Because it's not my fault that iRacing isn't working for me with my VR setup." So Eric, I mean, it's fun to chat with you, but we like to chat with you post race after a podium like that amazing run you had last week. But obviously this one's kind of a kick in the pants for you tonight with the VR not working, doing everything you can. And as I saw your messages, you're poking around on the forums, and it sounds like it's an issue that doesn't have a solution, unfortunately, yet. So kind of probably a bittersweet one for you here tonight.
Yeah, a little unfortunate. These updates get pushed through, and every once in a while there's a bug or two. And unfortunately, the bug bit me today. So I'll be here watching, wishing everybody the best of luck. Maybe every single person will crash out, and the points will be even. But gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, so we'll be rooting against Bruno and Nick for you in this one tonight to help your chances. Obviously, like I said, we'll work on your sales pitch to Matt for what kind of point situation you'll be getting in for tonight's race, because obviously I know admins they'll do everything they can to make it as fair as possible. So, um, but yeah, they definitely hate it for you, man. I say, like I said, been a lot of fun watching you in these races, and looking forward to, like I said, hopefully they get all squared away, probably knowing them probably tomorrow, and then we can get back after. But maybe a learning curve for these guys like me who set up races on build weeks. Maybe I learned a lesson about having an off week during these ones. So I'll put that in my pocket for the future.
Yeah, notes for the future. This should be a good race, though. It looks like a fun track to run, and I think these guys are going to have a good time out there.
All right. Well, we'll go let you hang out with your teammates. So if you have anything you want to chime in, just hit me up. We'll drag you back over and get some more insight from you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Always fun to have a little bit of a pre-race interview there, but looks like we are done with qualifying now, and we can bring you that starting grid. Looks like Bruno Miranda in that number 1 machine. He's going to bring it home on the pole for tonight. Matt Wagner, a member of Green White Checkered TV in Area 51, he is going to be on the outside of row number 1. Eric Peterson and Craig Forsyth are going to round out the top 4 for tonight, with Charles Teed and Gary Lovern on the 3rd starting row. Nick DeGroot inside of row number 4, and the 13 of Chris Stouffer to his outside. Yari Brupacher is on the inside of row number 5 with Adriano Frapporti in the 072 to his outside. Got Rick Sanchez in the 5 IndyCar. He's going to be starting inside of Edson Santos. And we'll bring up that second page of the grid here. We got Alan Moreira and Dan Moreira in the 7th starting row with Brad Adams and William Svensson. Rounding out the top 16 with Bill Coley, Eric Schaus, and AJ Hobson. Rounding out the field tonight. Actually, we talked to Eric. He won't be able to make the starting grid tonight, and I think AJ's in the same boat there, Gael. So it'll be Bill Coley will be our 17th and final starter for tonight's grid.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate, like I said. So yeah, you'll probably see provisional points, I would assume, for Eric and AJ there. Like I said, nothing they did wrong, just unfortunately, sometimes the build outs don't quite match what you're hoping to have, and so yeah, in this case they're unfortunate, because I guess you can kind of call it like they had some sort of a technical failure on the car. In this case, obviously nothing of their doing, just the build had a little bit of a hiccup, and they were the ones to kind of get the hit from it.
Yeah, that happens. Unfortunately, some of those real life It's Just Racing incidents happen in the virtual world, but nonetheless, we've still got 125 laps here at Nashville Superspeedway as Bruno Miranda leads the field around out of turn number 4, pace car onto pit road, and we are going to be green flag in the air in just a moment. Up the gearboxes they go. Miranda trying to hold off and get his 3rd race win in a row, 4th on the season as he leads the field into turn number 1. Easily taking the advantage of the first spot. Matt Wagner just behind him in that number 6. Eric Peterson, Craig Forsyth, and Charles Teed settling for 1st through 5th at the moment.
Yeah, so far pretty settled in on the start. So I usually always have to worry if anybody gets a little too squirrely. Saw a close call there through the tri-oval. Couldn't quite catch which cars those were, but that was close quarters there. But it looks like they're all going to get away with it, but that was definitely a moment.
Yeah, it's definitely a decent amount of speed at what is a fairly small oval, especially for IndyCars, 1.33 miles in length here at Nashville. And you can see how much speed those cars are really carrying into turn number 1. And they are using a little bit of every lane here so far. You see a couple on the bottom, mostly on the bottom. There's a couple towards the back trying to run the high lane. As you see a couple there kind of running the middle where the grip is and trying to get as much as they can through the corner.
Yeah, and this is going to be one of those, while it is a speedway, I mean, like you said, they're entering about 2:15 or so, if I saw correctly. They do drop a little bit down into like the 2:10s or so, or sorry, 2:05s or so. Watching Edson hit 2:09, 2:10 right on the entry, and then drops right about 200 coming out. But the thing is, like I said, as tight as this track is, it kind of does race a bit like a short track. So finding any and every little bit of clean air on your front wing is going to be crucial for these guys. And then you're going to find the guys that can find the right adjustments in traffic to be able to move ahead of guys, try to find that right weight jacker, ARBs, things of that nature. Always extremely critical to try to find that magic kind of balance for these cars in clean air and as well as in dirty air.
Yeah, that dirty air making such a huge difference, especially with the aero on these cars. They like to really get tight when you're behind somebody, so you have to be playing with that as much as you can to free that car up, but knowing that once you get to clean air, you have to tighten it back up, because if it's too clean, you might have some issues with the car getting a little loose there, so have to play with it back and forth. So definitely have some opportunities for some movement there and some adjustments in the car.
Yeah, last couple of races really, Boomer. The story of the race has been timing of cautions. Phoenix had we had a caution where I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Nick DeGroot was actually trapped 2 laps down, saved fuel, was able to get both laps back, recover, I believe, to a top 5 finish. It also it was a Craig Forsyth show, but then he had to pit prior to the caution coming out. That allowed Bruno Miranda and Adriano Forporti to jump to the front of the field, and then they were able to set sail and finish 1-2. With Craig kind of probably wishing what could have been. And so then we had similar as well last week's race, which was, I have to double check my notes here, at Kentucky Speedway, the Legacy Kentucky. A similar situation. We had a later yellow, and so some of those guys that had short pitted, it kind of threw them off, unfortunately, and just lost the track position that they had. So at a track like this, where again we're hearing mid 40s, somewhere in that rough range, should be a 2-stop for everybody. However, if you are trapped in all this traffic in this dirty air, if you can't make the pass, I think you back down your fuel map, all those adjustments you have in the car. Let's just run that thing a little leaner, run a little longer on fuel. And they do have to pit. One thing important to note is they do need to pit using the access road entering turn number 3. So that's going to be a challenge for these guys to make sure they don't get in there too hot, wash up into the grass, and then wind up right back into the racing surface. So I think that's going to be one of my key things to watch here if we get to a green flag pit stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the guys that's going to be trying to save as much of that fuel is going to be this guy right here, the number 99 of Craig Forsyth. Going to be one of those guys trying to stretch as much as he can as far as fuel mileage goes. Obviously, it's not the easiest thing to do when you're trying to run as wide open and stay up with the field as you can at especially short track, because it is really easy to go a lap or two down when you do have to pit from that third turn 3 access road. But we'll have to wait and see how they can manage that here tonight, as we are, like you said, going to be in a 2-stop situation. 45 laps, could maybe stretch it a little bit more depending on what you're going with for your fuel maps and how much you can try and save, but you definitely are not going to be able to stretch it to 1 stop, so it's going to be a fairly locked strategy, but it also gives opportunities for guys to try and run a little bit long for the first segment, or run short, or short pit, or try to do something different to be taking advantage as much of the track position or whatever they can throughout the race. And depending on how the cautions fall, we'll have to wait and see who's going to settle in where.
And speaking of which, I say pretty sure an unscheduled stop here. We've got the 36 Eric Peterson on pit road here. I'm going to try to watch and see if I can see anything that stands out to me, but definitely not to me a scheduled stop. Wondering maybe he caught the outside wall. And oh yeah, I definitely saw some side pod damage that got repaired with that fast repair. So I think that car was just too hurt. Now he's down and away. He's going to get rolling again. But yeah, so damage to the side. So probably an outside wall hit, I would assume. So now he's going to try to hustle around here and hold on. I believe we'll wait until he cycles through. I want to say he may still stay on. Oh no, he'll be 1 lap down, but he's going to try to stay 1 down, not get that 2nd lap down, which it looks like he will do indeed. So yeah, so unfortunately, early stop for Peterson. I don't think this gets him in any fuel window to make it to the end on 1 more stop. So he's just got to hope for.
We've got.
He's got to hope for that.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say Eric Peterson may still be okay if he can get a yellow flag, and there it is. We're gonna try and take you back to what exactly happened here. Looked like it could be the 5 of Rick Sanchez involved. We'll try and bring it out here. A replay as you see the 5 getting back up on the track, and oh wow, sailing through the air I'm not quite sure if that Dan Marrera. Yeah, that's Dan Marrera that
Yeah,
went
Dan
for a
Marrera.
ride.
Edson Santos had a little bit of a moment too there in the 20.
Bill
But yeah,
Coley
this one these
involved.
guys are just trying to hold on, and then yeah, here comes this. Oh my goodness, yeah, Dan does a nice little bunny hop there, and it looks like Bill Coley, I think, just yeah, he tries to go top, nowhere for him to go though. So a few drivers able to sneak just by it there. A few doing some off roading, but great break for Eric Peterson, though. Like I said, untimely caution or untimely pit stop, I should say. But now he can go ahead and get the wave around, as he was not involved in that wreck. And so you'll see that 36 car wave around, get back on the lead lap, and a little bit of a mixed bag on strategies here too. Boomer, I'm seeing two cars did not pit, the 6 and the 69. Bruno Miranda on back though, they all decided to hop right into the pits.
Yeah, everybody coming in except for some who have already made their first pit stop for damage, including Dan Marrera, Eric Peterson, and Bill Coley. And Rick Sanchez is still in the pit lane, so he may have taken a tow back. But everybody else here electing to pit. Matt Wagner and William Svensson staying out, as you mentioned. And yeah, there's a decent amount of damage for a couple guys in the field here. But we'll have to see how this sorts out. I think, like I said earlier, I think that there's going to be enough time for Eric Peterson to try and pit one more time. Obviously, we know we can go about 45 laps on field, so him having to pit on lap 13 there, coming out on 14, and that would be probably about 15 laps short to the end of the race. But who knows? Maybe he can try and get a little extra fuel in, or save a little more fuel on these pit cycles, and try to make it the rest of the way, or at least on maybe one more stop like everybody else. Try to keep those keep getting as many laps as he can back. I think he's only one down now, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm trying to do some rough fuel numbers, which is, I mean, with me, it's always a dangerous attempt. But and so it looks like with the way that caution came out, the lights are still on, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah.
they'll still at least one more time around. So basically, it's gonna be just under 105 laps to go. So I mean, so basically, we talked about fuel in the being mid 40s. I mean, these guys would be having to average like 52, 53 laps, and that that would be a big stretch on fuel. Did mention, like I said, Eric Peterson did get the wave around. He's back on the lead lap. The two cars involved that did have to get trapped a lap down, though, will be Bill Colley and Rick Sanchez. So 16th, 17th, they are stuck one down. And I think I want to say Edson Santos actually after all that too. He's able to stay out on the lead lap. So hats off to Edson because that car did a little bit of air as well and but able to hang on to it. But now though, Boomer, Matt's a lonely guy up front. He's got nobody else in the same fuel strategy as him. So yeah, so I was saying actually I was listening up on the driver's audio and Bill Call, you see him second in line there. He is actually the first car one down, but he said, you know what? I don't want to be the first car one down. So he's asking the admins if they can give him an EOL so that way he can drop to the back and doesn't want to get in the middle of this fight with the leaders here. So basically, though, what we know now, though, is Matt's going to have to pit at least roughly 15, if not more, laps earlier than the rest of the field if this goes under green till the next green flag stop.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how the action plays out. We're going to try and squeeze in a quick commercial break before we go back to green, this time by
40 Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 40 racing shoes are engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, all the while giving you the comfort needed to complete those double and triple stints. Visit 40racewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products that let you connect to your sim.
You see the lonely man there in the number 6 machine, the only one not to come down pit road this time. He is going to lead us back to the green flag after the first caution on lap 20, and he's going to have about 15 laps less fuel than the rest of the field who have all pitted on this cycle as he is up and away through the gearbox. Matt Wagner is going to lead this lap and try to hang on as long as he can with that track position he has gained here.
Yes, and this is where he's going to try just see if the track position stuff gets kind of, maybe this clean air will be helpful for him. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye and see how that goes over the course of the run. But yeah, right now it seems like I'm curious to see how he does compared to Bruno, because Bruno ran away by about a second and a half. I want to see what he can do to Matt. And then the one I think we got to watch though, and saying I preemptively apologize though, is Chris Stover. He has right now been the highest climber during the first run and after the pit stops too, because right now he is +5 from his starting spot. So it's not like he gained 5 after starting shotgun. He's worked his way from the top 10 into the top 5. And that's not an easy thing to do. So I think Chris has got something he likes here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like pretty much everybody in the field taking 4 tires and fuel. So it wasn't a pit strategy thing. He just truly has been running up through the field. The next highest climber is Alan Morera in the 9th position, and Brad Adams in 11th is up 4 at the moment. So definitely some hard work for some of the guys in the field trying to do what they can to get up towards the front. And so far, so good for Matt Wagner. You mentioned there, he was at the front of this pack since the beginning, but we saw Bruno Miranda with that clean air kind of run away and get the field a little bit. He could be trying to save a little bit here, knowing that it could be somewhat close on a one-stop strategy if another yellow were to come out, but Bruno Miranda actually just running the fastest lap of the race that last time by 22.86 to Matt Wagner's 22.90. So they are really close, and you see the half the second that's separating them at the moment. But for now, Matt has the advantage and trying to take what he can with that clean air to continue to move forward or stay in that lead position.
Yeah, and like you talked about with fuel mileage, my brain goes like you said too, just right back to the 99 car, Craig Forsyth. He's Mr. Fuel. He'll adjust his fuel maps during green flag runs depending where he is in the turn. He's close quarter there with Charles Teed. They're having a good little battle here, but now they can't fight too much because they're already about a second off Christopher. If they lose another half second, they're going to wind up falling off of his draft. So they'll want to get settled in here. It looks like right now Craig does have that spot back. But yeah, actually Bruno's holding Matt pretty honest right now, only 0.3.
Yeah, Matt able to take advantage of that clean air. 0.4 now as they cross the stripe. A few more laps led for Matt Wagner. And this is probably one of the better battles that we saw. Actually, the best battle is still continuing to be here with Craig Forsyth and Charles Teed. Craig running the top, Charles running the bottom. And they are closest of anybody on track, as you see here, as they get almost side by side through 3 and 4. Out of 4, it's going to be Craig Forsyth still with the advantage here, as the rest of the field is starting to string out a little bit more on this green flag run. About 10 laps in now at this point.
Yeah, and this is kind of what happens with this track in this race is just the field will spread out a little bit, just because of the way it races. Like we said, it's a 1.3 mile oval, 1.33 mile oval. But with these cars, I mean, this thing's going to race almost like a short track. So you got to find that clean air because these things just have so much grip. Like we talked about, I mean, they're dropping maybe 10, if 20 miles an hour top speed into the turns at most. Like I'm watching Teed right now. He enters 213 miles an hour down to 193. So, I mean, he's dropping 20 miles an hour there, and that's in dirty air.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a ton of speed for such a small track. And I just want to mention real quick, we saw towards the back of the pack there was a moment between William Swenson and Rick Sanchez as both drivers going off track. Rick Sanchez jumping to the pits, and it looks like Swenson is now 1 lap down. So a little bit of a moment there for those guys in the back of the pack, but we continue to stay green flag.
Yeah, I actually just went back to take a look to see what exactly happened to so it looks like it actually kind of kicked off with the 5 car, and he just got loose, and William tried to cut underneath him, nothing he could do. And then from there, yeah, William kind of got sent down into the grass there, and they both kept it pointing forward. Rick has officially retired from the race. Unfortunately, I think that would have with the damage and stuff. He just said, yeah, kind of one of those nights you want to forget, unfortunately. And unfortunately, William, though, now on pit road getting services done to his car after his damage. I think he was involved in that first one, too, so he's probably going to have to do a lengthier stop. Actually, I say the 9-second stop, he's down and away. So I still see a few scuff marks, if I'm not mistaken, on the side. So I'll keep an eye on him, see how that car's running. But This Craig and Charles Teed battle, though, these two just won't leave each other alone. They're still kind of hounding each other pretty closely. And to me, that kind of throws my fuel saving strategy for Craig out of the window. I think probably everybody's a two-stopper to the end at this point.
Yeah, I think so for the most part. These guys are still battling pretty well. Craig taking the outside, Charles still running that bottom. But Matt Wagner continuing to lead us around the Speedway. He's gotten a little bit larger of a gap now, about 0.4 of a second to Bruno Miranda, and has pulled away just a little bit here as Bruno was a little closer a couple laps ago trying to challenge for that spot, but Matt continuing to take those points or take that spot away for now as I do see actually looks like Eric Peterson and Dan Morera have a good battle back here for 13th and 14th at the moment. Settled right now by the 26th Dan Morera involved in that first incident. But these guys are the closest on track, so try and ride along with the 26 of Eric Peterson just to get a vantage point of how much speed there truly is in these cars and how fast they're going around. Obviously still in the virtual world, but there is a large amount of speed that goes to this and a large amount of concentration that it takes to run these cars on a ragged edge at such a small track.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And then that's the other thing for Peterson is what I've been surprised about is he's pretty much running the same line as that as Dan Morera. And I really would have expected there that he would get a lot worse aero wash than he's got. So he's got something adjusted in pretty well. And again, I mean, this is a great opportunity though for him too, because again, he had just been put down a lap, I should say, prior to that caution. So he's able to get back into the mix of things. He is one of the drivers that did top off on the one to go. So he went just a lap longer. We'll see if it comes into play or not. Edson Santos right now, he's also one of those ones that topped off, and he's actually working on going around the 76 of Brad Adams. I think Brad saw Edson come and said, I don't want to fight this, and just said, yeah, you go right on ahead here and let him kind of keep that pace up there. So everybody's on little differing agendas right now, but like I said, I will be definitely keeping a close eye on when these drivers make their green flag pit stops. Like we said, we know Matt with the caution, I would say maybe lap 50-ish. But the thing is, again, he's probably having to run map 1 right now. So I think 50 is probably about the furthest he can go. And then I think the rest of the field will probably see them at like a 65 to 70 range. And then we'll see who's going full save.
Yeah, definitely going to see Matt on pit road sooner than just about anybody, but he's actually increasing that gap to over a second now on Bruno. As we see him pulling away here, we'll jump back to him at the front of the pack. He is currently heading into turn 1 and 2 and really taking advantage of that clean air. He's definitely not saving anything, but he's going to have to come in here in a couple laps, and we'll have to pay attention because it's really, like we said, the only split fuel strategy that we have to pay attention to, where he's going to come out if he can continue to keep this track position with that, because he was running in the top 3 before the caution came out anyway, and who knows, maybe it's what he thinks is the winning strategy to try and get around Bruno and try to beat him at his best and see what he can do to keep this clean air.
It's definitely a risk versus reward situation. I'm peeking a little further back, right in the top 10, because we have a really good battle right here with the 21 of Alan Morera and the 072 of Adriano Forporti. Alan is trying to hold the inside. Adriano's working the top side, and right now I think Adriano's got the pace and the momentum up top, but these guys getting so tight to each other here through the turns, but they're putting on a really, really good race here, and it's just kind of the ebb and flow of which driver's able to kind of get the little bit better exit speed, whereas Alan's got the benefit of that curved tri-oval where he can kind of run that shorter distance, which is making Adriano work a little harder.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how much more momentum they can carry around the top of the track, but that inside always making that difference, being the shortest line where you can really get around a lot quicker. But so far it seems like Adriano has it, unless he's going to close the deal there, coming through the tri-oval.
Leaders coming in here.
Pit access road for the 6 of Matt Wagner. I'm going to surrender the lead and get down to pit road speeds.
It looked like a nice, clean entry through the access road and then into the pit stall. So I say he's the first to really have to do it under race conditions. So now, though, we talked about this last week. Now everybody else that can go out longer, this is where now that 6 car is just going to have to sweat bullets for probably about 15 laps or so minimum, because he's going to be trapped a lap down to all of these leaders here. Because right now, Bruno just passes Matt, putting him a lap down. He won't go 2 down, but he's definitely going to go 1 lap down there, just again at the pace these guys running 22, 23 second laps. Matt rolling out of pit road as we speak now, getting back up to speed. But yeah, so he'll be a solid, probably about a lap and a half, if not a little more down out of that 6 car.
Yeah, you see Bruno here on the screen. And we'll pull up the 6 of Matt Wagner as he comes around the back. So Matt Wagner is entering turn 3. Bruno is exiting turn 2 actually. So just about a straightaway between the two. So that's the difference from a green flag pit cycle that we've seen for the first one, the first successful one for Matt Wagner here tonight. But that's going to get a lead back to Bruno Miranda, who's got a 1.72 second lead over Chris Stouffer, 2.7 seconds over Craig Forsyth, 4 seconds over Charles Teed, and 4.7 over Nick DeGroot.
And that's what I'm going to start watching now. Now I feel like, obviously Bruno's got clean air. I feel like Chris Stouffer's right at the edge of clean air as well. And he and Bruno ran only about 0.08 of a second off of each other. Bruno 35 to Chris's 43. And so I'm curious to see if Chris is able to pick up the pace a little bit. And this time they're even closer, only 0.02 of a second apart. So they are pretty much, these top 5 or so are all running literally within hundredths of a second of each other. Just kind of how even these guys are. So track position could be very, very important here. Matt Wagner, obviously, he's now got to work pretty hard here to try to see if he can get some track position quickly, because he doesn't want to be wasting too much time staying behind some of the lap traffic on older tires. So that way, if and when the pit cycle completes, he's hoping that he's going to net himself back out to further forward.
Yeah, we see Matt Wagner here. He's actually got a battle for position with Bill Coley, as Bill is the lap down car. Matt coming back up through the field, and like as you mentioned, Gael is going to have a lot of traffic to have to get back up to the front of this pack. We'll have to wait and see where people shake out as far as a pit cycle goes, but we're probably about 7 or so more laps before we get to the next set of pit cycles here for the rest of the field. But Matt doing okay at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm peeking around, and I'm looking, like I said, at some of these guys, and like I mentioned, Craig Forsyth, he's usually Mr. Fuel Save to me. However, like I said, he's been. I'm listening to the drivers around. They're chatting back and forth. I heard someone talk about fuel mileage, and I'm watching Nick DeGroot actually now, Boomer. I think Nick might be kind of playing possum here, just kind of not showing his full hand, just cruising behind Charles Teed, Craig Forsyth, and saying, yeah, you guys lead the way. I'm just going to keep sipping fuel off of you guys, and we're going to see how this all unfolds. So, like I said, once we start to get our final pit stops here, again, Matt pitting at lap number 46. So based on those numbers, again, we should see about 17 laps or so. Actually, Edson Santos on pit road here. I think that's a little early, but he's on in as well. But yeah, I'm curious to see how far some of these guys go in relation to Matt. So I would expect, based on those numbers, though, that, yeah, we see it might be around, 63, 65 range. But I still think someone's going to try to hit the 70, mid-70s and try to one-stop it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. As you see, definitely interesting to talk about Nick DeGroot here a little bit. Actually been the fastest car on track a couple times now in the last 5 laps. He's now challenging Charles Teed for this 4th position, as he's going to jump to the bottom here and try and take that spot away. But it seems like he's got pretty good pace at the moment, just trying to save what he can. That last time by our leaders with a 23.34, a 37 for Chris Stouffer, a 54 for Craig Forsyth, and a little bit slower for these guys who are now running side by side in Charles Teed and Nick DeGroot. But the top 5 all within a couple tenths of each other, with for the most part clean air, obviously, other than these two guys battling side by side. So Matt Wagner, the fastest car on track, though, obviously making sense with that pit stop that he had at lap 46 there just about 15 laps ago. And we'll be looking to see a lot more cars coming down the pit road here in just a moment.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to mention too. Is Matt's lap times are usually a couple tenths quicker than the leaders. So again, he's got to hope that it all goes in cycles well here. But yeah, I'm trying to peek around and see. Looks like Craig. Up here comes Craig Forsyth. So he is not going to run it long. Again, I didn't think he could just based on where he was. So he comes in here at lap number 60. I think this is Craig doing a kind of a middle run here where he's decided, you know what, I'm going to split this last run in half and not run it all the way out. It's like we saw with Matt. He's like, I see the lap times Matt's pulling out. I want to see if I can do the same thing in that 99 machine.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like, I mean, obviously with 60 laps in the books and 65 to go, there's definitely going to be a lot of opportunities with a 45 lap window for those who did pit on the first yellow flag to try and, play with strategy a little bit here. Is actually we're going to see the 13 of Christopher is going to come in this time as well.
And I think Christopher, I believe, is in the same Discord as Craig Forsyth. So I wonder if they're kind of in communication saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. And remember that battle we talked about earlier with Alan Morera, Adriano Forporti? They're right back at it. They're side by side. Looks like, once again, Adriano's trying to work the top, Alan the bottom. This time, though, actually a little bit of dirty errors. Ooh, really loose there for a second. Adriano saves it, but he got really squirrely there on the entry of 3. But yeah, so far it looks like you said, and I'm looking at also how long pit stops were. Craig Forsyth was 8.3 second stop compared to Matt's 8.7. Christopher also 8.3. So again, that tells me that Matt had to fill that car up to the brim, and that added about 7/10 of a second, 4/10 of a second of fuel, which, as you know, every little bit can count in these things.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Obviously, we talk about fuel strategy so much with the Super Speedway series that we run here on Thursdays and Sunday nights as well. But actually, we got Dan Herrera in this time too. But one of the biggest things, a little bit of looks like maybe a spin there, getting to pit road for Dan Herrera. He was a little slow when we came to him here. Eric Peterson in this time. Real fast for Eric Peterson.
That
might be
hot.
A penalty. Yeah, that may be a penalty, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
but
that is indeed a black flag for
Okay.
Eric, I can tell you now. And I think Dan Morera, actually, he's got a penalty as well. So I think both those guys, like I said, maybe a spin possibly for Dan. So maybe it was an unsafe entry with the spin. But it's kicking off though now. Bruno Miranda's in, Charles Teed is in, Alan Morera, Brad Adams. So pretty much now we've got about four of our lead lap. Actually, Nick DeGroot now on pit road too.
Yep.
So pretty much our lead pack. Yep.
So
Yari, Gary.
So is Adriano. There it is, everybody.
So 60 to go. It said it's pit stop time.
Yeah. So let's see where this evens out. Matt Wagner obviously has been running for quite a few laps now, 20 laps actually, by himself, and he's going to make it back to 5th at the moment. He's going to pass a few more, it looks like, on the access road potentially, as Adriano Forporti, Gary Lovern, Yari, and Nick ahead of him are all still on pit road as they are starting to come out. Actually, no, they're pretty much all in their pit stalls right now, so this is actually going to cycle back for Matt Wagner to be in the lead. And he's got a 3.2 second gap back to Bruno Miranda, which was over a second before. So who knows, this strategy for Matt Wagner, as long as he can make it on one more pit stop, which should be close, this may actually put him in the catbird seat for strategy. He pitted last on lap 46, and if you can go 45 laps, then, well, no, because there's yellow flag condition in there in the middle, but and if he could go another 40 laps, I think that would take him to the end, just barely, though.
Yeah, and I think that's his plan. I think he probably did the backwards math like a road course where it's like, okay, I need to pit at this lap. I can pit at this lap to make it to this point of the race. But now what's going to be fun to see too is, okay, now he's been on these tires for a little while. What does the closing rate look like for a Bruno Miranda, Christopher, who all just pitted recently? Christopher pitted 4 laps before Bruno, so Bruno's got about 4 lap fresher tires than him. Because right now, let's say we kind of got that spread out once again here. Everybody's got about a second and a half, all spaced out. Right now, Charles Teed probably in the closest battle. That's with him and Yari Brupacher, just about 0.5 of a second apart from them.
Yeah,
and then
and
then I said they can't get away from each other.
Yep.
They're attached at the hip here tonight.
Yeah, it's fun to see. Actually, Nick DeGroot that last time running a 23:08, a 22:97 as Bruno Miranda crosses the stripe just now, and a 23:25 for Matt Wagner. So a couple tenths of a second there, about 3 tenths between Bruno and Matt. The rest of the field running a little bit slower. Craig Forsyth, Nick DeGroot within about a tenth and a half or so of our leader, Matt Wagner. So they're going to reel Matt in a little bit here as you see this battle here shaping up. We've got Gary Lovern 0.9 seconds ahead of Adriano Fraporti. Alan Morera is about a half a second back, and that is your closest battle on track, especially between 3 cars, as that last time Yuri Brupacher runs the fastest lap of anybody, that last time by a 23:03.
Yeah, I think what's happening for Bruno is he's been stealing some draft off the 26 of Dan Morera. So I think that's also giving us a little bit of a sign of like where that lap time's coming from. Because I'm looking at Craig Forsyth and he's in some pretty clean air, Nick DeGroot as well. And they're in the 23:16s, 23:20s. Matt Wagner last time was actually 23:22 himself. So I'm wondering if some of those big lap times we were seeing from Bruno were actually due to some draft from that 26 of Dan Morera. So this time by actually, you know what? I'm not even going to say that because now I'm looking at the ticker. 1.3 seconds, Boomer, between himself and Matt. So he has the draft window. He can feel the toe off of that 6 car. So that I think his lap times are going to continue to improve here as a little slower, 23:09, but still again about 3 tenths quicker than Matt, 23:38 to a 23:09.
Yeah, you can see them just about in the frame together for most of our TV camera shots here, as the one of Bruno Miranda is starting to chase down the 6 of Matt Wagner, now within a second, as this will start to be Alan Morera and Adriano Fraporti and Brad Adams. That battle for 10th right now is still the closest on track, but we do see Matt Wagner here getting reeled in by Bruno Miranda, as now they're trading off about 3 tenths of a second faster for Bruno, and we'll see as it comes across this time by a 23. Looks like a 23:37 for Matt and a 23:04 for Bruno. So 3 tenths of a second advantage, and you see how much that gap is closed.
Yeah, no, Bruno's there at this point, and so again, Matt's on 20 lap older tires, roughly 46 to lap 65. So yeah, so at this point, Matt's just got to run the numbers here. Like I said, he needs to go at least until he's in his window, and then just does he run it out where then he has to pit, or does he just short pit as soon as he's in his window? There's that risk versus reward, and again for me though, I mean, I always feel like I'm sweating bullets if I short pit. Like I'm always one that I love to be the latest to pit in Indy cars, just because I always think that's gonna be the way for me to have a chance to win these races. But Bruno though, he's gonna waste no time. He wants to keep those fresh tires to use. He's gonna jump top. Matt's gonna protect the bottom here. So now we'll just see what if the grip is enough of a difference. And the answer is yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough when you're on 20 lap older tires in pretty much any kind of car, except for maybe an IMSA style sports car. But yeah, definitely tough when you got 20 lap newer tires for Bruno there. He has got a big advantage, and now he has the air, and he's going to start pulling away from Matt Wagner. But Matt's going to have to play that strategy. He's kind of at this point where he has absolutely made his bed and going to have to lay in it to figure out where he's going to settle out. It seems like it still was advantageous for him to get the clean air and be out front. I do see Chris Stouffer running him down a little bit here, although that last time by, actually, Matt Wagner was faster than Chris Stouffer, now that Matt has a little bit of draft from the back of Bruno Miranda. So if Matt can stay here in second place, I think that means absolutely that this gamble has paid off for him, and he will have to be a very lucky man to be the only one about a lap and a half down when the next green flag pit cycle comes, and for him it is gonna be within the next 10 laps.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Is that pin window should just about be open for Matt to make it to the end, but I think it's like we said, I think for Matt what he's gonna have to do is he's gonna want to run it out as far as he can, that way he doesn't get trapped where he's got to wait 30 laps for them to make their final stop. So I think he's got to play it smart. And of course, these guys are all going to adjust their fuel and probably make them as light as they can for the last stint. No need to fill them up, putting the extra fuel in. So there's gonna be a lot of adjustments for the drivers on how you want to set up the car for this final dash to the finish after this pit stop. But then again, he's going to be stressing for a little bit about, okay, let's see what we got. And then for Bruno, it's going to be the same thing. Like, okay, I saw Matt in, I saw the lead he built on me, but I was able to chase him back down. So do I blink knowing it's going to be a shorter run to the end after this last stop, or do I do I keep an eye on the Christophers and the Craig Forsyths and maybe not make that big risk at the end?
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, some of that could have been fuel save there from Matt in the middle stages of this run here, as obviously we saw Bruno get around him fairly easily. That could have been more from fuel save than it could have been from tires, because we've seen some good laps from Matt Wagner being within a tenth or two, but we do see Chris Stouffer still reeling Matt in by just a little bit, and we can see that Matt's pretty much in the window to go to the end, but will definitely be helpful to him to try and run it out as late as he can. One thing I was kind of talking about during the previous pit cycle and wasn't able to complete my thought there was that you see this so much with the Super Speedway style racing that we have here on Thursdays and Sunday nights, where you want to fill the car as little as possible to get to the end. The longer you run, the less amount of fuel you actually have to put in to make it to the finish. And it doesn't seem like it, but you can save a second or two on pit stops by taking that lesser amount of fuel. And you can see, I mean, 1.5 seconds, you see how much it looks like on all the way back to the black car, Matt Wagner in the screen there now. That 1.5 seconds on pit road doesn't seem like a ton, but on the track it is so much more distance and could make or break it. But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, Matt going to try and do what he can to stretch this out as long as possible, as he is definitely in the window to go to the end. And we'll see where he nets out, as Bill Coley has actually come off the track and jumped to the pits.
Yeah, I say it looks like he may have lost it off of two. Was all the way down to the inside wall, so he was able to take a quick toe to avoid bringing out a caution. So I always love to see the respect for those drivers that say you never want to kind of affect the outcome of the race. However, there's probably a handful of drivers that said, I wouldn't minded having that yellow, but just watching right now, Edson Santos just got around Charles Teed here for the 7th position. He's now up 5 spots from his starting position. But as we say, here comes Matt Wagner. He's going to call it. He said, coming to 36 to go, he said, all right, it's time. I'm going to hit pit road. So he's going to get his last scheduled set of tires and fuel on that 6 machine. And we'll have to wait for everybody else to cycle around, and we'll see what it shakes out for this dash to the finish here soon.
Yeah, I think Matt had to try something there. I mean, obviously he was running in the top 3 at the beginning when the first yellow flag came out, but something to keep him up front for sure. Gave him some great track position, and as long as nothing crazy happens here in this final stint before everyone has to take their final stop, I think he'll be in good shape to continue, and we'll see. Should be able to get ahead of Bruno, I would think, based on that last cycle we saw, but who knows? Matt's coming out of pits now, and he'll be about 1.5 laps down.
Yeah, so right now it's going to be important is to see how he cycles out. So he's going to come out, it looks like, right in front for the moment. I think that's Adriano Forporti. Yeah, so he's going to get out right in front of Adriano. He's going to start to steal some draft from Alan Moreira right in front of him. And that's what he's going to do is he's going to start basically like leapfrogging these guys. Use the fresh tires, find the clean air, but then grab the draft and then try to – you got to make quick work of each of these guys here. You don't want to get bogged down behind them. So what Matt wants to do here is once he gets kind of tires built up and everything is probably start running those 22-second lap times just to try to build up any gap you can. Because right now Bruno's just kind of in his own little clean air window. So he's just kind of out for a cruise right now. So, Matt's going to have to do a little bit of hustling. Like you said, too, right now, I believe he's the second car one down. He's got to get around Brad Adams to at least give himself the lucky dog spot. But I believe, here comes Charles Teed. He's going to be the second of our leaders to hit pit road. So looks like the window has formally opened here.
Yeah, that worked out really well. I mean, Matt only pitting a couple laps ahead here of Charles Teed by about 6 laps, so that kind of evens it out. And for Matt to pit from second place isn't too bad as far as the strategy goes. But you mentioned Bruno Miranda continuing to dominate this race as much as he can from the split strategy between him and Matt, so he's getting quite a few more laps led, and it is a distant race for third at the moment with Chris Stouffer about 5.26 seconds back, Craig Forsyth 6.5, Nick DeGroot 8.4, as we see Edson Santos hitting pit road this time by.
Yeah, but say Edson's in for his scheduled stop. Just saw Matt. He got around. I believe that was Adriano for. No, I'm sorry. Alan Moreri just got around him. That lap that he got around him, he actually had run a 22.99. This lap though, they were kind of side by side for a little longer than Matt probably wanted, so it turned into a 23.28, which is only 300s faster than Bruno. But again, though, now he's got another car to draft off of, which I believe. Oh, here comes changes everything.
Yep.
I think it's Edson Santos, I believe.
Yep. We'll try and see if we can bring that up.
So the timing of the caution, though, Boomer, was Matt the first car one down? I don't think he was.
Wasn't.
I think it was Brad Adams.
I think it was Brad Adams, yeah. He should be able to get a wave around and not pit because he shouldn't need to, but that'll also depend if everybody else does pit because not everybody may want to pit here because not everybody has to pit with some of the few that have already come down pit road, but I think all the rest of them are behind him, so I think Matt should be able to get it back. So, but you see there, Edson Santos going for a spin on pit out. Unfortunately, it's going to bring out the second yellow of the night.
Yeah, I mean, I made all that attention about the pit entry when, the pit exit's just as dangerous. So here comes the field.
Yeah, we would always
They're going to make their final scheduled stop.
Bruno Miranda in first, Christopher, Craig Forsyth, Nick DeGroot, Yari Brupacher. And it will be Brad Adams getting the lucky dog. He'll come around and get his pit stop the second time around here under yellow. And we said a lot during my 24 hours of Daytona experience that cold tires suck. Unfortunately, I didn't listen to that at the time. Wrecked the car lap one that I was in it, but it happens because cold tires suck.
Yeah, cold tires are scary. And, good pit stop. Oh, we got some strategy here, Boomer.
Yeah, interesting there. Nick DeGroot almost getting around there.
You want to know why Nick DeGroot almost got around there? He had a 5.5 second pit stop. And we know what that means.
That means fuel only.
There were no tires on that number 89 car. He said, I need track position. I haven't had it. I want it. And I'm going to take a gamble for it. You know, he wanted to get to the front there and be able to lead this restart, but that's not going to happen, unfortunately. And so that'll drop Christopher one spot back to third. And then like you mentioned, Brad Adams back on the lead lap, getting that wave around. And then now you got a handful of guys like Matt Wagner. He's going to wait till the one to go. He'll get his lap back. I think Charles Teed, unfortunately, trapped 2 down.
Yeah, 2 down, so he'll get 1. Charles Teed will get 1. Matt Wagner will get 1. And then that's it. That's it for wave around. Yep. Dan Herrera and William Swenson are electing to pit, so they're not going to they had to pit anyway, I believe, so they're not going to get their lap back here. But yeah, unfortunately for Charles Teed, he's only going to get 1 of the 2 that he is owed, and Matt will be back on the lead lap, but he will be behind Adriano Forporti and well, correct me if I'm wrong, Guy. I know typically lucky dogs, you'd be tailing on the longest line. I know that might be different for IndyCar, but I believe that means that Brad Adams and Matt Wagner would be at the tail end of the field, right?
Yes, yeah. So Matt's gonna have to he'll restart towards the very back. I think Brad's in pit road now getting service. What is interesting though is if there's any of the down cars that did not pit there, which I'm trying to see if any of them really did. It looks like everybody went ahead. I think
everybody did pit.
Yeah, because IndyCar you can't actually there was a situation we saw it earlier where I believe it was the 31 Bill Colley was going to restart second. Because of where he was, he didn't need to pit. And he's like, you know what? I don't want to be up here. So, but it does look like that's exactly how it's going to play out this time, though. So, like I said, you'll see Matt, you'll see Charles, they'll wave around here once the lights go off of the pace car. And then, some of these other guys, though, and actually, I'm trying to double check. I think, was Edson behind all the other lead lap cars here? Yeah, he is. Okay.
Yeah, he will be. But we will be ready to go in just a moment here. We're going to take our second commercial break, learn about 4DRacewear.com.
4D Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 4D racing shoes are engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, all the while giving you the comfort needed to complete those double and triple stints. Visit 4dracewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products that let you connect to your sim.
You see the code there on your screen during the commercial break. It's area 5115 at 40racewear.com for 15% off of your sim racing apparel, shoes, gloves, and lots of other really cool stuff there. So please make sure to check out our sponsor, 4dracewear.com, and support them as they have supported us for so many years here at Area 51. And we are ready to go. Bruno Miranda is going to be in control for the restart here with 25 laps to go. Nick DeGroot second, Chris Stouffer, Craig Forsyth, and Jari Brubacher in the top 5. Pace car's going to pull off, and we're going to see who is going to settle this out for the race win tonight. A long way to come back for Matt Wagner after the yellow flag comes out from 10th. He has the speed. Does he have enough to climb back up through the field? We'll have to wait and see. Bruno Miranda is through the gearbox, up to speed, and into turn number 1.
Yeah, looks like so far so good. You always get nervous about the potential accordion, but looks like everybody did a great job there. So now it's gonna be I'm gonna be watching DeGroot and Stouffer because again, Stouffer's got the fresh tires. DeGroot gambled for track position. We'll see how it goes, but so far DeGroot's keeping the momentum up. But I say what Bruno sees as a mirror is these two fighting side by side. He's loving every moment of that because he wants these two to keep fighting because it's just gonna allow him to stretch his lead while they burn their tires up a little worse.
Yeah, good battle through the mid-pack here as the top 10 are all separated by a couple tenths except for Bruno Miranda, who's got an 8/10 of a second lead here. You see Craig Forsyth, Jari Brubacher, Chris Stouffer all up here battling for the second spot. And we'll have to see how it settles out as Bruno Miranda actually runs the fastest lap of the race at 22.85 for him that last time by on fresh tires. You see the gap that he's pulling away with, but everybody battling right now for that second position as Chris Stouffer has it for the moment. Craig Forsyth, then Nick DeGroot in the 4th position, falling back.
And so now this is where Chris and Craig, now they got to work teamwork here. They're still in the draft window of Bruno, but I think this is where, I don't know if this track will kind of play nicely with it, but they might need to consider doing that leapfrog type drafting style but I don't know if there's just enough time in this track. I think it's too small, too fast to be able to do that. So I'm going to keep an eye on the lap times right now. As actually last time by now, you mentioned Bruno.
Yeah.
Now Chris goes purple, 22.81.
Yeah, 1/100th of a second faster than Bruno Miranda's best. Chris is going to try and see what he can do to run our leader down in a good spot right now in the 2nd position. Since the restart, though, Matt Wagner has not been able to move at all, and they're trading back and forth. Bruno Miranda with a 22.80 now goes purple on the SDK leaderboard. He has the fastest lap of the race. Craig Forsyth with a 22.89, his best lap of the race so far, as these guys are absolutely slinging it. As Nick DeGroot continuing to fall back just a little bit here. He's now back to 6th, and it looks like, unfortunately, that gamble for tires is not going to pay off here.
Yeah, no, that gamble did not work. I think the goal was to have the clean air to then have the gamble pay full effect. But yeah, so he just keyed up. He's not happy with his strategy there. And so, yeah, so right now, like you said, though, all the lap times are starting to even out here just a little bit. So it's kind of settled in here. Actually, as I say that, though, it's actually almost a full 10th of a second quicker for Chris over Bruno there. So, like I said, I know Chris Stouffer, he had 3 podiums or 3 runner-ups, I should say, to start the year. And then he's had some really, really bad luck. So while he'll be happy to get back to a runner-up, he wants that win really bad. So he's going to move that car anywhere and everywhere he can, change any adjustments he can, weight jack your ARBs. He's going to free that thing up and try to make some moves here if he can have any chance to get after Bruno.
Yeah, we saw Chris Stouffer, I think it was the first 3 races of the beginning of the season, Gael, where he was always the bridesmaid and never the bride, unfortunately, and starting to repeat it again a little bit here. But we see a good battle on your screen right now between Gary Lover and Adriano Frapporti as Nick DeGroot's trying to hang in there now for the 8th position. These guys are side by side on the speedway, and we've got 15 laps to go.
I think that's the biggest hindrance right now for Chris is just these laps are clicking by in 23 and less laps. In this case, Bruno 22.90 that last time by. I say Bruno's got the clean air. He's got the car adjusted exactly where he wants it, and he's just pretty much running qualifying laps now every single lap. And honestly, the way it's looking now, I'm watching the gap start to build once more, and it's going to take a mistake by Bruno. It looks like at this point to have a chance at something. And uh, listening to the drivers, they're checking on Nick, seeing if he's doing okay. And yeah, just because I don't think some of them realized he took fuel only, and then realizing like, oh yeah, tires definitely played a role here tonight. So that's good to know for these drivers. They'll know that in future races that are on smaller ovals like this. It's like, hey, yeah, you want track position, but you got to have the grip too. And I mean, we saw that too with Matt's short pit. It worked great, but then once Bruno's tires kicked in, he just went right back around that number 6 car. So Matt gambled early. It didn't pay off in the long term because of the timing of the yellow, which we kind of talked about. That could be a turning point in the race. Nick gambled late without tires, and same thing. So I think the answer was for tonight was you want to pit late, you want tires, and then you want to hold what you got. So, but yeah, like I said, though, I mean, these laps were going to be 10 to go this time around. Right now, a great battle though with Alan Morera, Yari Brupacher fighting for that 4th and 5th position.
Yeah, it's a good battle, and these guys are pretty close. A pretty solid night for Alan Morera. He's just kind of methodically been moving up through the field, finds himself in the 5th position, just off of the rear wing of Yari Brupacher at the moment here, trying to see if he can get one more spot. He's up 8 from his starting position of 13th, and that is our highest climber. Christopher up 6 from his starting spot of 8th. And Brad Adams up 6 from his starting spot of 15th. He is back in 9th at the moment. So pretty good battle here as Alan tries to get one more spot. And yeah, pretty much we mentioned the tale of different strategies. The only really split strategies being the 6 of Matt Wagner, who finds himself in the 10th position. He's trying to battle with Brad Adams here, seeing if he can get this spot back, and unfortunately falling back just a little bit, but he's going to regroup and recharge down the front straightaway and try to take over that 9th position. But remember, Matt has probably the oldest tires of anybody on the track. It's going to take a little bit for those tires to fall off at a plateaued pace or an even pace, and we'll have to see if he can grab a spot or two, as it looks like he's going to be able to get to the inside of Matt this time by. But Bruno Miranda kind of quietly just sneaking away, having really great lap times, running really, really smooth laps down the backstretch this time into turns 3, and he's going to be 6 to go at the stripe.
Yeah, they're clicking off fast, and yeah, it's almost 2 seconds now between he and Christopher. Like you mentioned, Matt Wagner, Brad Adams, a great battle. It's still close between Alan and Yari. That's separated themselves out a little bit, but man, this midpoint of the season, though, I mean, just Bruno's been on a tear. Say winning the last 2 races now, trying to get that 3rd in a row to give him 4 wins in the season. And it was a very, very close points battle going into that first race that that Bruno won 2 races ago. And like I said, he's been stretching out his 37-point lead going into tonight. And unfortunately, with Eric Schaus's difficulties with the VR not working correctly, that's going to drop Eric a fair bit behind too. However, there's always the one silver lining, as we talk about it in the points. There is a drop week. So situations like this, that drop week could be very, very crucial for some drivers that maybe had either a bad race tonight or a situation where, like an Eric Schaus, wasn't even able to run tonight. So like this could wind up being his drop week for all we know. So still a lot to play for over this. Like I said, after tonight, this will be actually, no, I'm sorry. Tonight is the first race of the second half of the season here at Nashville.
Yeah, race number 7 of 12 of the scheduled distance of 12 races for season 1 in 2024. And Bruno Miranda, the class of the field so far. Nick DeGroot took the first win at Pocono Raceway. Eric Schaus grabbed his win at Homestead. We saw Bruno get the first win at Donington Park. Nick DeGroot getting his second at MIS, but it's been Bruno ever since, and looking very strong here with 2 laps to go is that number 1 Indy car, as he is trying to make it 3 in a row here at Area 51 in the Dark Horse Series. He's going to get the white flag this time by, and Bruno is going to have 1.33 miles to bring home that checkered flag with a comfortable lead of 2.4 seconds as they cross the stripe, Gael.
Yeah, just one more time around, saying it's not even like the super speedway race where you want to see the white flag. That way, if the race ends, it's like, nope. Even if there's a caution a lap or two ago, as long as it wasn't him, he would have been able to bring it home as the winner, but it's not going to be any different through under green flag conditions. Bruno's going to bring it out of 3 out of 4, get the win here tonight at Nashville Superspeedway, racking up win number 4, 3 in a row. And again, probably a bit of a heartbreaker for Chris here. He's going to have yet another bridesmaid result here tonight. And Craig Forsyth bringing it back from vacation last week. He's going to bring it back with the podium. So good result for these 3 guys. But probably the one that's going to be hurting the most are probably combo of Nick DeGroot, Matt Wagner. Just wrong timing for Matt, wrong pit strategy at the end for Nick.
Yeah, definitely. It always is an opportunity to try and do something different. I think Matt kind of knew that Bruno was going to be in a really good space to try and get this win tonight. So props to those guys for trying something different. Unfortunately, it's not working out, and it is going to be the number 1 of Bruno Miranda on the front stretch here, getting ready to celebrate.
I think he brought a friend along with him there too.
Yeah, looks like Alan Moreira's doing a little bit of celebration for his top 5 there.
I mean, Alan was our highest climber tonight, +8, and I've been they're gonna find each other
Friendly
there.
fire.
But no, I feel like Alan has been kind of underestimated as a really good long run driver. I've been noticing that he can keep that car underneath him better than most. And as a race wears on, Alan does a really good job of keeping those tires and is able to make time at the end.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was really cool to see. I mean, even at a what really kind of is a short track for these Indy cars, the tires really made a huge difference, maybe even more so than they thought they would, especially seeing Nick DeGroot's efforts there kind of thwarted by him not taking any tires on that final pit stop. But it was interesting to see how that came and went with a little bit of comers and goers. Obviously, some of it mostly from the split strategies that we saw from Matt Wagner there. But it was definitely interesting. It wasn't just a 200-mile-an-hour pace lap. We got to see some good side-by-side action, and we get to see a good effort from Bruno Miranda to come out with that 3rd straight victory. But we're going to get into some of these interviews here, as we'll have to get a few people to join us here in Discord momentarily, but we'll get ready, just trying to get right into those.
Yeah, I think Mr. Vacation is already queued up here and ready to party. So I'll say we'll see if I don't have like a BAC monitor for Craig or anything, but I'll say he had a good time. It looked like on vacation, but came back to business night, bring it home in 3rd. So hand it over to you here, Boomer.
Yeah, we got Craig in the booth here with us. We saw at the beginning, we thought you were trying to do maybe a little bit of a fuel save mode, but we saw you being one of the first pitters on some of the long green flag runs. So not your typical MO, but looked like the strategy paid off for you pretty well with that 3rd place finish.
Yeah, no, I knew I didn't want to be. I was fuel saving right from the start because I didn't want to be one of the first guys pitting. I figured there'd be a caution during the pit cycle, but then we had that caution after 20-ish laps there, which sort of threw the fuel save strategy of any kind out the window. There was really no point. Matt had stayed out. I mean, no matter what we did, it was going to be 2 more stops. So Matt staying out made sense. It just put him in the danger zone for 20, 25-ish laps. And I mean, he got through went through the first cycle fine, which I was surprised. I figured we'd have a caution on the first green flag pit cycle, but then it bit him on the second one on the final one. So we got lucky there. And I had actually just decided I was going to be coming in right when that final caution came out. So we got lucky. I had been burning up the tires the last 10 laps of any of the stints I was doing. The car was getting wiggly and loose, and I wasn't happy with it. So, no, we're perfectly happy coming home with a 3rd. That's for sure. Nick staying out on that last cycle caught both Chris and I by surprise. So we knew we needed to get by him quick. We'd seen with how long Matt had been able to keep Bruno behind him. We were worried that we weren't going to be able to get by him. So luckily, Chris was able to get a whiff of the outside line, and I was able to follow him through, and that secured 2nd and 3rd for the team.
Yeah, definitely seemed like a pretty solid team effort. I know Chris is probably not going to be too excited about finishing second for the fourth time this season, but you guys were kind of there when it mattered at the end the most, and we saw obviously we saw some difficulties with with that green flag pit cycle. It seemed like we were going to be able to get through 2 full pit cycles, but for the most part, it seemed like it was a pretty calm race. I mean, obviously we saw a little bit of excitement with some side-by-side action, but were you guys expecting it to kind of settle out and be what was fairly uneventful for the race?
We figured it was going to be like when we were in practice, we were tossing back and forth between whether we were going to have pitting off a 4 like normal, or pitting off of the pit entry, or off of the pit turn 3 lane. And I mean, pitting in off of 4, you have to brake so early to start slowing down that you're basically just leaving 3. You're basically at the apex of 3-4, and there's so much danger there that you end up getting clipped from behind. That we decided, okay, no, we're gonna play the safer route, make everyone go in from 3. But then I figured there was going to be at least one person who came in too hot and clipped the grass, got the back wheels on the grass. Again, I was surprised there weren't more. So happy we only had the one. So in the end, that worked out really good.
Yeah, definitely. Seemed like it was a pretty solid strategy for you guys, kind of methodically moving through the field. Obviously, Chris moving up quite a bit tonight. You kind of hanging out in the top 5 and eventually climbing your way into the top 3. But like I mentioned, it's got to feel pretty good to have 2 cars on that podium for you guys tonight.
Yeah, no, I knew Chris was faster than me. He just he had to lift on his hot lap, so that was the only reason he didn't outqualify me. And I mean, Bruno was in a league of his own. I mean, he was half a tenth faster than anyone else anytime he felt like it. So we didn't think we'd be catching him unless we got a lucky break that way. And the lucky, we just had lucky breaks ensure that we stayed up near the podium, just not enough to catch Bruno.
Yeah, still a great effort from you guys tonight, and we'll let to roll out that red carpet now for you for any other thanks or shout-outs for that 3rd place finish tonight, Craig.
Oh, I mean, I got to thank the team, 40 Racewear. I mean, Chris got the good result tonight. Dan got caught up in that in the first incident, so that put him on the back foot the rest of the race. And Jim couldn't be here tonight, so no, it's good for the team, and I mean, all you boys at Green White Checkers, and I mean the whole league. It's good to be back. I missed my week. I missed you guys last week, so it's nice to be back.
Yeah, definitely good to have you back in the car, Craig. And as Guile kept mentioning, Mr. Vacation himself comes back with a 3rd place finish tonight. Congratulations, Craig.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe.
Alrighty, we'll go to the teammate now of Chris Stouffer, and I find it a little funny because the last time I talked to you, Chris, I'd kind of made a joke about being the bridesmaid and never the bride back here on Tuesday nights broadcasting here, and unfortunately, I mean, obviously still a great effort. Don't want to downplay that at all, but just one spot off the top. But Chris, I wanted you to take us through. It was pretty solid battle up through the field, and want you to take us through what it looked like from your vantage point.
Well, I'll take the 2nd place. It's I had a bad few weeks maybe there in a row. So second again. I'm first in something. I'm the first loser. So but no, 2nd place is good. The race tonight, early on it was just trying to get the laps down and tried to make my way up front as quick as I could because I knew the tires were going to be a big point tonight. And once tires got worn out, we really got single file there, and it was really tough to pass. So just tried to make my moves early in the run. There at the end, Nick stayed out. I got around him, and I had the bars and weight jacker going and everything, and I really made my tires upset. I could tell you that. I was loose. With about 10 to go, I was real loose, so I backed down and just kind of rode it home to second. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I know that's something that we've kind of touched on a little bit in the broadcast, but I mean, take us through what kind of adjustments and how much you're adjusting as you go through the car, every single corner, even. You know, I know there's a lot of stuff that you can play with as far as the tools that you have with the IndyCar in the real world and in iRacing here, and maybe if you don't mind sharing some of that, take us through some of that. What actually goes on behind the scenes in the car.
Well, we have three real main things that we can do in the car while we're driving: the front anti-roll bar, rear anti-roll bar, and the weight jacker, which shifts weight around in the car. I won't get into all the details of it, but we can adjust those settings going up and down on the ARBs, as they're called, or the weight jacker, and you can go positive on the weight jacker, and it'll make the car turn better, and in turn it'll also wear your tires faster. And if your car's getting loose, you can go negative, to keep the car under you. So you can do a lot with the tools throughout the course of the run. I was all over the place. Uh, all I went to extremes that I probably wouldn't normally do in a car, just because I felt confident in the setup. Um, but it worked out. It's just passing was really difficult once we got out there, and then passing the leader was that much more so because he had the clean air, and clean air was king tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It's always cool to see, and I know what kind of buttons you guys have mapped as far as what's on your steering wheels to make those adjustments in the car. But definitely really cool to see what you guys are doing kind of behind the scenes. But I mean, we saw you had to you mentioned it a little bit earlier where you kind of had to come up through the field. Craig mentioned you may have slipped a little bit on your qualifying efforts. Did that make it a lot tougher for you to get up through the field with how difficult it seemed like it was to pass at times?
Well, with qualifying, I certainly mucked up my qualifying really good, and did start further back than I was anticipating or hoping to, I guess. But that is what it is. And so, at that point, it was just because I knew this track, I knew it was going to get strung out, and I just wanted to make as many moves as I could early on, and so I did that, and yeah, it paid off.
Definitely paid off indeed. Seemed like we had a little bit of I mean, it's something you mentioned already that it was strung on a little bit, but it seemed like there was a little bit of action there with some of the yellows that we had at the very early on, and then the yellow at the final green flag pit stop. Seemed like that kind of helped you guys towards the end. Kind of fell just about at the right time, as Craig was kind of mentioning.
Oh yeah, as far as the pit stops or the yellow flags, they did fall just perfect for us right before we had to pit. I was thinking about pitting early to try to get the undercut there the last time that we had to stop, and that the caution actually came out. Maybe the lap I was about to pit, I was really debating on doing it because you had to do anything that you could to try to get that time. You saw Matt do it by staying out, and then when he pitted, he had such a huge lead. Bruno's really, hats off to him to be able to run him down like that. But yeah, so a lot of different strategies, a lot of different things. The yellows did play out good for us tonight, and able to bring the 40 Raceware, the Laura IR18 home, second place.
Yeah, definitely a great effort for you guys tonight. A good team 2-3 finish, and saw you working hard throughout the pack. But yeah, congratulations once again, Chris, and want to roll out that red carpet for you for thanks and shout outs for that second place finish tonight.
Again, 40 Raceware. Shout out to you guys. Thank you to the wife, and love you. Love you kids, and you guys in the booth doing a good job. I like watching the broadcast and all that. It's very entertaining, and Matt for putting on the league and everything. And hopefully here next week I'll get to talk to you again.
Yeah, hopefully so, Chris. Well, congratulations once again. Welcome back to the second place club. Hopefully you can finally break through at some point this season, and we'll be talking to you as hopefully a winner soon enough. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Alrighty, we've got one more interview to go, and that is going to be the one of Bruno Miranda, the class of the field tonight. We saw a little bit of a split strategy between you and Matt Wagner, but you were able to kind of run him down after the first green flag pit cycle there and gain that lead back, and for the most part never looked back and emerged victorious there, Bruno.
Hello, Logan. Hello, Gael. Thank you very much for the broadcast. In the first part of the race, when I didn't pass the mat, I used the save fuel, and when he was stopping when he stopped and the pit stop and come back. Uh, he was a fast guy in the race because the new tires and this strategy I think about is not okay. But the last yellow flag is save me, Chris, Nick, all the grid because everybody stopped it and Matt stay out and stop in green flag. Uh, so I think this part saved my race and the Matt unfortunately had a bad lucky because he in the final of the race he was very strong. Yeah, so I think for him it's not good and for us, everybody has changed the strategy and have a little luck in the final of the race.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have that luck for the way the yellow flags fell, but obviously you were, other than the different strategy from Matt, you were pretty much in kind of the class of the field there with the rest of everybody else on the same strategy. It's got to be a really good feeling to get 3 wins in a row, too, in the series. That's definitely a feat that's fairly difficult to do with some of the competitors, and has to feel pretty good to get 3 wins in a row there, Bruno.
Yeah, the three last races countable Nashville too. For me, I think this is lucky because these guys here in these leagues very fast guys. Chris, Nick, Matt, Alan Moreira, Adriano Farpotti, Craig Forsyth, and other guys, Matt Wagner. So I use this strategy in last race and this race today. I use the strategy for pass uh, these guys, and I don't know. I think have some lucky to stay on the podium also or win the race.
Definitely. Well, definitely still a little bit of skill involved with it. Obviously, very, very humble with the mention of the luck that you had, but still a very great effort so far. Obviously, pretty much at this point, you're sitting as the championship favorite. What do you think it's going to take to come home and win the championship at the end of the season here, Bruno?
Yeah, the next races I think is not good for me because have a super speed tracks. I don't like these tracks. I love the tracks like in Nashville. They are more technical. But try to stay in the top five for next race. I I hope so.
Very good. Well, want to say congratulations to you again for 3 race wins in a row. We'll roll out that red carpet now if there's any thanks or shout outs you'd like to give for the victory, third in a row again for you tonight, Bruno.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you, Gael. Thank you, everybody, to stay here in broadcast. And thank you very much for you for broadcast. It's a sensational broadcast.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it, Bruno, and congratulations once again. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, Gael. Bye bye.
Bye. Well, that was a lot of fun, and love talking to Bruno. Definitely humble there. Obviously, we understand, a little difficult with with I believe it's Portuguese being his first language, but always appreciate the interviews from him. And even though he's a pretty darn good racer, he's also very humble. So, love to see that competition at the front of the field, as we had a really good battle for a couple drivers here at the front. We saw,
Yeah, no, it was a
yeah.
really good race. You're right. Boomer was saying with like I said, I mean, and Matt's gonna be just kind of ruining that caution and seeing what could have been if not for it. But yeah, like you said, though, just I mean, I think some of the guys kind of called it too. It just seemed like at some points that like Bruno could just turn the wick up to another level. And yeah, I think this was definitely a Bruno's race to lose with the way he was performing tonight.
Yeah, he mentioned that there's a couple more tracks coming up that, kind of the 1.5 or larger tracks that he's not necessarily looking forward to, but still, I think clearly the championship favorite. I mean, there's quite a few guys that will hopefully have something to say about that with some of the performances that we've seen so far throughout the season, but definitely a good battle shaping up, and we'll have to see how it unfolds as we are just past the halfway point in the season. But we'll bring up some of those results here for the rest of the field tonight. Obviously, already talking to our top three, Yuri Brupacher with a solid fourth place finish for him tonight, and Alan Moreira in the fifth spot for the number 21 machine, also out of Brazil. We see Adriano Foporti there in the 072. He's going to come home in the sixth position. Gary Lovern there, seventh. Nick DeGroot gambling on the fuel-only strategy for the final pit stop, not quite paying off for him, unfortunately. And we saw Matt Wagner gambling early on by electing to stay out on the first yellow. Seemed like it was going to work until the final yellow, the second yellow flag, came out and put him at the end of the pack. Had to get the wave around to get back to the end of the lead lap. And by then he had less tires than everybody else in the field and was not able to overcome. He did grab a spot from Brad Adams, who will be our last finisher on the lead lap. We saw Charles Teed come home one lap down in the 11th position. Edson Santos, we saw him have a pit road speeding penalty, I think it was, that put him 2 laps down. Dan Marrera obviously getting caught up in that first yellow, and William Swenson getting caught up in an incident himself. Bill Coley, an early retiree, as well as Eric Peterson and Rick Sanchez. As you see Eric Schaus there not able to join tonight. And I think you'll see AJ Hobson on the leaderboard below him as well. But those two unfortunately having some issues with the VR setup with the iRacing season update coming out, the biggest season update that they've done in the history of iRacing. So really cool to see that that seems to be going strong for iRacing and for the whole sim community. But we'll be back in action here at Area 51 in the Dark Horse Series next week at Auto Club in California, the now fictitious 2-mile oval that has been torn down in real life, but we still get to enjoy here in the sim world. We'll take a week off after that, and we'll be back at Las Vegas before we go to Texas, New Hampshire, and in Indianapolis to finish out the season. And like we mentioned, a pretty solid championship battle shaping up. Bruno with a good opportunity at the top, grabbing that 4th win of the season tonight, but he mentioned not his favorite tracks coming up, so we'll have to wait and see if some of those other challengers, Chris Stouffer, Craig Forsyth, Nick DeGroot, if they can have anything to say in that championship battle to try and gain some points through the middle tier of this championship battle. But it's going to be a lot of fun next week at Auto Club, and we've got some other racing here on other nights as well. We'll be back in the booth for Thursday night for the Xfinity Superspeedway Series, and also again on Sunday for the Super Truck Superspeedway Series as well. So make sure to catch up with all the action here on Greenway Checker TV in the different Area 51 leagues. But before we head out, Guy, I want to get your final impressions from tonight and how you thought everything went.
It was a great one tonight. Like I said, it was definitely. It looked like Matt definitely took the gamble trying to go for the win tonight. But I think even if everything played out perfectly, I don't think he'd have had the tires at the end to hold off Bruno. However, a second place finish would feel probably a little bit better, maybe a little less salt in the wounds. But yeah, just a really, really good job by him. And honestly, all the drivers, like I said, I was worried about the pit entry. I think maybe we had one driver overshoot the pit entry and go off onto the track and then come back in. But nobody lost it like all the way on entry. I'd say it was just that one little hiccup on exit where you adjusted your weight jacker back up before you needed to, or like you said, cold tires, full fuel. Just it gets a little squirrely, and so that brought the caution out. That kind of changed a little bit. But like I said, I don't think it changed the grand scheme of the race results with Bruno getting the win here tonight. And I don't know, man. I think you might be the silver lining though for Mr. Bridesmaid though, because I don't think he's had any luck since I've been running the broadcast for Christopher. So might need to get you in the booth here more if he's going to keep getting some runner ups.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I know I talked to him when I think the third race of the season was his third in a row for second place, and I asked him the bridesmaid question, but definitely funny enough for him. So good to see Chris back on the not the winning ways, unfortunately, but that has to be coming around the corner with how he's been running. But back to some solid second place finishes for Chris. But yeah, it was great to see that split strategy from Matt. I mean, obviously for the broadcast, it makes it more fun for us to see how that kind of plays out. It's unfortunate that it didn't work as well as it could have. Had we gone green flag, I think Matt easily could have been in the second place position, if not the podium, and almost guaranteed the top five inside the top five, just because of the speed that he brought tonight. So unfortunate for Matt. Obviously, bummer for Nick DeGroot. Had a really good play for strategy, tried to make something happen, and unfortunately didn't quite make it work. But it was exciting nonetheless, and lots of more action to come here in the Area 51 Dark Horse Series on Tuesday nights. But I think that'll pretty much do it for us for tonight here on Green White Checkered TV. For myself and my very good friend Gael Brooks, we will be signing off. We hope you have a great week and take care.